Desperadoes. How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Awesome spy thriller movie coming from your boy Guy Ritchie. We're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about two big dudes out here just having fun slaughtering Nazis. We're going to talk about being out in Africa and partying, you know, getting your drink on. We're going to talk about all the things. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. It's your boy, Jerome Rhett here. Coming at you live, host of this fantastic podcast, joined by my amazing co-host, Alex Andrade, as well. Once again, if you're hearing my voice, that means Jonathan is not here to do the intro. That is because Jonathan is still out. But don't worry, he will be back soon. But in the meantime, it's just going to be the two of us doing... Perfect, because I got Canada Dry in me. Canada Dry Fruit Splash. All right, this is cherry ginger ale. Very delicious. And zero sugar. So, you know, for those of you who are calorie buffs out there, zero sugar. But anyway, Jonathan is out, but he will be back in a very short time. By the time you get there, you'll be like, oh man, Jonathan was gone. It's crazy. But in his absence, we're just going to power on ahead. Firstly, by introducing ourselves and telling us about our day, starting with Alex. Alex, how has your week been?
Not bad. Like I mentioned to you earlier, and I mentioned on the podcast, I have chronic back pain, and recently I just got some epidural injections for my back, and it's been freaking awesome. I've had less pain in my life. I still have pain because that's something that's always going to be there, but the least amount of pain I've ever been in my life, and it's crazy and it's weird. And like the first day I realized I didn't have any pain, I actually cried. It was very nice. It was magical. But also it's kind of weird because I'm trying to figure out how not to be in pain, because you would always, when you have chronic pain, you always do these certain things to like avoid doing more pain. And now I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can squat down instead of like getting on my knees to grab something. I can just squat and pick something up. So it's like a weird relearning how to walk almost situation going on, but it's been super nice. I'm so happy that I did get them done and that they're being effective. Hopefully they stay effective. So my week's been actually, you know, pretty good. Mostly I've just been hanging out with my sister's dogs, hanging out with my cat, and also I've been rewatching Sex and the City. That's still a thing I'm doing. I genuinely don't know how I got started rewatching it. I think I just put it on Netflix one day and kind of just kept going. Let me tell you something about that show. All those women are awful. There's always been a debate.
That's the crux of any sitcom, is that all the characters are awful.
You know what?
Like
you're right.
In reality, like if they were real people, they'd be awful people. But no, because we're seeing the world through their lens, we see them as like, no, they're all right. You know, they're friends or whatever. But it's like, I mean, you look at Big Bang Theory, all those nerds are very much misogynists.
And like, bullies.
And bullies. And then Penny, of course, is like a super like objector. Like she just walks into their apartment. They could be doing anything. She just walks in there like she lives there. Like
uses their Wi-Fi, everything. Yeah. And like another thing with the show is that I remember them being like in their 20s or something. These women are in their 30s, like mid 30s. And it's like, okay, this is not how a 30-year-old woman should be acting. This is not how I'm acting. Y'all need to get your shit together. Like most of them have their lives together, but then they're like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, ma'am, you're 30. This seems like a crisis for your 20s. You're 30 with an established career and like a rent controlled apartment. How bad is your life really? Like, you know, respectfully, how bad is your life? But another funny thing about the show is that it's from the early 2000s. So there's like flip phones and they're talking about IMing and do I see this person IRL? And it's just so funny to like hear and see these things. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember all this. This feels like much older than I remember it. But it's, yeah, mostly it's just they're awful. And it's kind of a nice show to just watch and judge people. Sometimes you just need to feel like you need to judge people. That's probably why I'm watching it. But other than that, it's been a pretty good week. And hopefully it keeps, you know, going good for me and my back. So how about you, Jerome? How you doing?
Doing good. Chilling. Have as often as I do have some media news to dump out. Firstly, got a new trailer for The Boys season 4. Looks super good. It looks super solid. I cannot wait. It comes out I think in June. And I am excited to have especially with this being a political year with the election coming up in November. This is going to be a series. I was going to say series, but a season about elections and politics and stuff. Like even the way the trailer plays out is clear that there's going to be some talks about like politics and political unrest and things like that. So I'm really interested to see where they're going to go with that with The Boys. Like the show has surpassed the comic in every way, in my opinion. Like the first season may have followed the comic, but after that, they've kind of been doing their own thing. And since Gen V has been good, all the Boys seasons, I think they vary in levels of like good. I feel like season 2 is the best one, but even still, I like season 3. And then I can't wait for season 4. So I'm excited to see where they go. Hopefully they don't run it into the ground. Like Amazon Prime is still doing pretty good with their superhero content between this and Invincible.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see The Boys season 4. Also excited to play as Homelander in Mortal Kombat because Mortal Kombat once again is having their guest characters. They've done it now for the past 3 games. This year, or this iteration of the game, Mortal Kombat 1, one of the guest characters, well, one of the previous ones is Omni-Man, which was great.
Oh, that's right.
But now the next one upcoming soon is Homelander. So it's going to be interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are going to do mirror matches with Omni-Man fighting Homelander because everyone wants to see them two fight, even though there's no competition. Omni-Man would clearly win. But
Who's the worst dad?
That's true. They are both fathers. Probably Homelander. At least Omni-Man feels bad.
Go on.
But yeah, so Boys season 4 looks good. Super excited. We also got a first look at Superman Legacy. A lot of people have been excited for the new Superman movie that James Gunn is making. I think it's supposed to come out in 2025.
Who's playing Superman?
David Corenswet. We actually talked about this a while back, and I showed you guys who David Corenswet looks like, who looks very similar to Henry Cavill. But here's the first pic. Like, we didn't get a trailer or nothing, but we did get a first picture, and this isn't the first official picture of Superman for Superman Legacy is the name of the movie.
It looks AI generated.
A lot of people have been saying that. A lot of people have said it looks AI generated. And James Gunn had to come out and be like, no, this is official. This is legit. All this was captured in camera, except the the big pink ball in the sky. But I assume if that is in camera, it's like a projection on like a screen or something. But otherwise, I think he really just means the Superman part is like all in camera, and then the background is maybe like CG or something or effects. But I mean, I like it. I think it looks good. I like the modernness of the Superman logo. It's also a callback to the Kingdom Come Superman logo, where Superman's like older in that, but still. But I like how like down to earth this is. It's just Superman putting on his boots, getting ready to go save the day after already clearly saving the day with his scorched suit. And I like the hair. I think that's totally Superman hair and stuff. So I mean, overall, I like it. It is though, I think, an odd first picture for a Superman movie. Like you'd think it would be more like him like posing or whatever, because like for context, now look,
he looks like he's taking
you give your opinions on this.
Well, he looks like he's taking a sweet time while there's a giant jellyfish trying to attack the city.
The thing. It's like it's a weird, or maybe he's just like, all right, I guess I gotta go back out there.
He looks like me after I have to put back on my shoes. Like, all right, if they had told me earlier, I could have picked it up from the store before getting home. But all right, fine, I'll put back on my shoes. I'll go. At least I haven't taken off my jacket yet.
Yeah, because like for context, right? Like the last time we got a Superman movie that was just Superman was, of course, Man of Steel. And just for like context of like differences, like this is the first picture we're getting of this Superman movie upcoming. this was, I think, like the preview image, like for Man of Steel when that movie was coming out. You know what I mean? Like that looks cool. Like that looks like Superman. He's just crashed a bank safe because he's like probably about to fight some criminals or something. It's a little darker, but it does like look like Superman in a heroic moment, like about to do some heroic shit. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, definitely.
So it's just, I think that's what's throwing people off is the vibe feels different. Like this feels more like a Superman who's kind of just like fed up. He's just like, I'm tired.
This one, the Henry Cavill Superman looks like a man actually going into battle and ready to fight. The other one looks like he's ready to take off his shoes from a long day.
That's, some people have wondered that too, if it's maybe the reverse, him taking off his boots, being like, man, fuck this. Like, I'm not going back out there. I mean,
he already
I just got off an 8-hour shift at the Daily Planet and just saved the city. I'm not saving it again.
Yeah, like he's dirty. Maybe he like this has like, I'm not gonna lie, it has like living alone type of girl vibes going on. Even like the coloring of the walls and everything. Like this is something I feel like I resonate when I come home after work. Literally taking off my shoes and taking off my stuff. And then actually that just happened today. I had to go pick up a key from my sister's place because I'm going to go feed her dogs later. And she's like, oh, can you still do it? And I'm like, it would have been nice had you texted me so I could pick it up before I came home. But sure. Now I got to put back on my shoes. And I'm not happy about putting it back on. I'm happy to go see my sister's dogs, my babies. But like now I'm sitting there on the chair being like, now I have to untie the laces. I got to tie them back up, put them on. So he just looks like, and like the face he has is just like.
Yeah, I think that's what's throwing off too, is the face. He does not look like happy to be putting on these boots.
Yeah, it's too neutral of a face for what, I don't know what situation they're trying to create.
Well, the only thing I can think is that this is being called, the movie is called Superman Legacy. It's it's really, as far as what we've learned from James Gunn, it's really based off of All-Star Superman, which is a story in which Superman has been Superman for like years. And then Superman is dying. And so he's like doing like the, like, you know, he's and it's like a death sentence. So he's like, there's nothing I can do. I'm going to do all the things I want to do with the people I love and spend my last few days being Superman and, like, you know, doing my due diligence to the world I love and the world I protected all these years. And so I don't think they're going to do the like death part, but I think they are going to lean in on the fact of like, cause at this
like,
point,
show a photo of like defeat, show a photo of like acceptance or grief. This shows like cozy girl aesthetic going on.
Well, I think the idea is that they want to get a down to earth Superman vibe, kind of like, and I'll actually show you the All-Star Superman cover, which is like one of the most iconic Superman looks as well, is this cover for drawn by, I think Frank Wyatley may have drawn it. I'm not sure. He's a great artist. Like comic book artist, very successful. But like this is All-Star Superman. Like that's the most famous cover of All-Star Superman. And it's like just him just chilling in the sky. It looks like it's someone just taking a picture and he's just like, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm Superman. Who are you? Nice to meet you. It's like just chilling.
Weirdly drawn, but like that's even a better pose.
That's just Frank Quietly's style. He loves like the big heads and the weird body and
the
stuff.
Face. But like even that's like would have been like a better set photo where it's like he still has the, you know, super powerfulness or the superhero level status where he's above the clouds, he's above the city, he's doing something no normal human can do. That's like, yeah, the other one is everything a normal person can do. I think that's what it is. It's not showing Superman as Superman, but it's showing Superman as like a normal person. But
I think that's what James Gunn's going for, is like a more down to earth Superman who's just a regular guy. I was Comic Pop did a reaction talking about this picture, and they were like, it's just Superman being like, hey, I put on my boots just like everybody else. Like because the thing about Superman is that Superman does consider himself to be just like everybody else. Like he's like, I was raised, like it's not like I was raised on Krypton. came here and now I'm Superman. I have lived on Earth my entire life. Majority of my childhood, before I knew I had powers, was spent like doing regular kid shit, like playing baseball in the field and hanging out on farms, picking like grain and stuff with my dad. Like I have lived a regular mundane white American apple pie life. And so for him, it's like, I am just a regular guy. I do just put on my boots like everybody else. It just so happens that I also have superpowers and I'm a good man. So I'm going to use them to help save the world. But if I didn't have them, I'd still be the same dude, like personality wise. Like I'd just be a regular guy, just doing my thing.
But you wouldn't be. And that's the whole thing with like superheroes and stuff. Like I think I have a problem or disconnect with a lot of characters or superheroes that I've been introduced to. Let me put it that way. I understand it's not all of them. Are like always like it's the same person with or without the mask or something. But it's like you're not though, because that is a big part of your whole secret identity, secret life. You know, you get this squirrely personality because you have to hide everything. So you wouldn't be who you are without the powers. You would be a nobody then. If Superman was Superman, he'd probably just be a nobody and probably wouldn't be as like good as he actually is. He would probably be like every average person around here are like, I'm just trying to get through my day. So they ignore the horrors of the earth some days.
That's
and it's
the thing about Clark Kent though. Clark Kent is that guy. Like and it's not because he's super. It's because his parents were good people. Like the Kents are like the best parents in comic book history. Like they can make anybody a good person. Is it because
they were still alive?
Depends on the continuity. Sometimes Pa Kent's dead. Sometimes he's not. Depends on who's writing the story. But I believe currently in the comics, both Ma and Pa Kent are both alive. But they're just good people. So they raised a good son. So before he even knew he was Superman, he was the guy to be like, I'm going to throw myself down to like fight some bullies if they're picking on some kid that's smaller than me, even though I might also get beat up, because he was a good kid that became a good man and then got superpowers, got superpowers when he was a kid, but then realized I have great power. Like, it's not because unlike, like Spider-Man, where it took his uncle dying to realize with great power comes great responsibility. In Superman's case, he's like, the second he realized he had powers and he was like, Mom, Dad, what do I do with these powers? They're like, well, it depends. You can do nothing. I mean, you could just be like a regular kid, but you have great abilities. You can use them to do some good if you really put your mind to it. And he's like, you know what? You're right, Mom and Dad. That's what I will do. And so he does that from when he's Superboy. Again, depending on the continuity, he's either when he's Superboy, doing his thing as Superboy, and then he becomes, an adult and he becomes Superman and does his things as Superman.
I just don't like Superman, I guess.
So Clark Kent's just always been a good man from childhood because of his parents, because he has good parents, which is why he's not like Batman, who Batman's very jaded because his parents died when he was a child. And so he's just like vengeance, darkness, the night, versus Superman's had his parents his entire life. And so he's just like, no, there's always hope. There's always goodness going on. I love, I enjoy the sun, all that stuff.
Cheddar singing the songs of his people right now.
But, but that's the only Superman news we have. I'm just curious to see what the trailer looks like, because it could be, the picture's throwing people off, but I still have faith in the movie. I love James Gunn's movies. I'm excited to see Superman Legacy. So we'll see how it goes. And then also, in regards to myself personally, this week, you're rewatching or watching Sex and the City and getting into some old shows in regards to, because I've been watching X-Men 97. So good. Just so good. It has no reason being as good as it has been. Given all the MCU's put out, like all the things Marvel has been putting out as of late. But it's just like the best thing coming out right now, which is why everyone's super jazzed again. It's garnered a lot of people's faith for upcoming Marvel projects, especially with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out around the corner, which is another X-Men thing. So a lot of people are excited about all the X-Men stuff coming out right now. But in regards to, says I've been watching X-Men 97, and that is a continuation of the old 90s X-Men cartoon. I've been rewatching the old X-Men 90s cartoon because by the time I was a kid, and it had already all been out by the time I was old enough to like retain it. So I was only watching like a few reruns that would pop up here and there, but I didn't get full storylines and stuff because it was just disparate episodes popping up. And then like once I got older, it stopped airing. So I didn't really get to watch the show like as a whole. And so it's been great to watch it. And it's really good. Like it's high drama. I mean, it still is, for kids. So they can only do but so much. There's no major violence or anything like that. And some things are just like, what are y'all doing? But for the most part, like the drama is still really good. And my
hold on 1 second. Cheddar, what's your problem? What? That's not an answer. What do you want? I don't know what his problem is.
Hopefully he's okay.
He's fine. He's just being a dick.
But the best thing I've been enjoying, especially, is seeing all of the mistakes they made from the 90s cartoon. There's times where you can catch it, like very seldomly. You can catch episodes in the mistakes in the episodes, like the most egregious one. There's a scene where Storm is using her powers, and mind you, every time Storm uses her powers, her eyes glow.
Yeah.
There's a portion where she's using her lightning powers and her eyes are down here on her cheeks, like the glow is down there, and then her eyes are black because they didn't move it up in the cell. And so then halfway through the scene, they move up to where they're supposed to be. And I was like, that's a big one. y'all definitely missed that. But you can't undo it once the episode's been given to put in distribution. That's it. Like there's it's not like streaming now where you could like take that episode down, re-upload and fix it. Like,
yeah.
So I'm like, and there's times where like Wolverine, like, cause he constantly is getting his like costume like blown off by like lasers or something like that, where it's just his he'll just be shirtless with his like claws out. There's constant times where he'll be shirtless, then they'll do like a shot far away and he has his full costume back on, and then they'll go back to the close-up and he's back to having no shirt. I'm like, so clearly y'all didn't follow continuity when y'all made these frames. Also, the fun thing about the show, especially X-Men 97, is all the cameos. Is Cheddar okay?
He's fine. I don't know what he's just scratching at the door. I don't think anybody's there.
Do you want to pause so you can check real quick just to make sure?
Yeah, give me 1 little second. There's nothing. I gave him a little extra food. He was just being a brat. It'd be weird because you, Lauren, and my sister know where I live. That's it. Only you three have ever been inside my apartment, let alone, around my building. So if there was anybody ever at my door, that's not normal. No. That's not,
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Yeah, literally 3 people have been inside this apartment, including you, and that's it. But I'm sorry. Continue before Cheddar interrupted.
In X-Men 97, they've had some occasional cameos because they have the X-Men, of course, but this one's a minor spoiler. But there have been other superheroes to cameo. I won't give away some of the bigger ones, but one of the ones is Captain America showed up in an episode, and it was like, oh snap, Captain America's here, and it's led a lot of people to wonder if because. It's weird because all these Marvel animations were coming out around the same time with like Fantastic Four. Like Fantastic Four and Iron Man didn't really sell as well, so they didn't last very long. But Spider-Man and X-Men lasted for a long time. Spider-Man ended after X-Men did, and had spin-off series. But they would sometimes cross over. Like Spider-Man would be in X-Men or X-Men would be in Spider-Man. Fantastic Four would be, so on and so forth. And they'd be drawn exactly the same way as they're drawn in these other Marvel animated shows. I think because they went to the same company, but also because like they modeled them after how the characters looked in the 90s during that time period. And X-Men 97 is kind of kept with that same thing of having all the models look like how they looked in the 90s. And so a lot of people, like with the cameos, a lot of people are wondering if other shows during that time are also going to get reboots, because especially of how successful X-Men 97 has. Because Spider-Man also was really popular, and Spider-Man always sells. Every time they do a Spider-Man series, it gets multiple seasons because people love Spider-Man. So people are wondering, is there going to be a Spider-Man 98 or 97 or whatever year that show ended? But are we going to get like a continuation of Spider-Man and then maybe have those crossover, which I'm like, I'd be down for an animated universe in the 90s in Marvel.
I mean,
That'd be really cool.
I could see that. That I'd watch. That sounds like more fun than like what we have now going on, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Especially because like they still have like the 90s stuff going on where they, they still use like Walkmans, and they still have like cell phones, like, like flip phone cell phones and stuff like that. So it's like the aesthetic of the 90s is now like in right now. And so
which is crazy.
You should lean into it. Like Marvel, you should lean into it. Have more like cartoons that takes place during the 90s. Especially because people were coming for X in 97 because in the first episode, Gambit has a crop top.
I know, which is so stupid.
And yeah, people being like, they're going woke. Look at what they have Gambit wearing. He's wearing some feminist stuff or whatever. I'm like, people wore crop tops during the 90s. A lot of those people were men.
70s and 80s men's fashion was kind of slutty. They had they were wearing short shorts and crop tops and
the
low
socks.
Tank tops. Yeah. And then the low tank tops all the time everywhere.
Especially the muscled up dudes, like the most manliest of men were wearing just tiny, tight tank tops because it, showed off the muscles. And then if they really wanted to show off, they'd rip that bad boy off and do the Hulk Hogan. Like that was a thing back in the 90s.
Yeah, those really tight leopard print pants too.
Mm-hmm.
Or
the Speedos were a thing, like as a swimwear, like that. Speedos were.
Speedos.
They weren't as taboo as they are now.
For everything that comes back into trend, I pray the Speedo doesn't. I think the Speedo is the one thing.
I think Europe is the only ones that are still wearing Speedo.
Well, it needs to stay there.
But speaking of European stuff going on, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I thought you were going to talk about big men.
I guess that too, muscled up dudes. We're here to review the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, the newest Guy Ritchie movie out right now. Guy Ritchie's having a year with Gentlemen because he had The Gentleman on Netflix, which is very good, doing well, great show. Still haven't been told if we're getting a second season, but if we do, I'm down for it. I loved it. And now we have the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare as well, also from Guy Ritchie. So it's just been a Guy Ritchie year. But this film is from IMDb. The description is: the British military recruits a small group of highly skilled soldiers to strike against German forces behind enemy lines during World War II. And to further expand on that, this is also a movie based off of some more recently declassified files back in 2016. English files from about World War II operations that Winston Churchill had, done that for all intents and purposes are considered like the earliest forms of espionage special forces in warfare during the time, especially for England. And so this is based on a true story about a group of men and some women who were involved in a declassified mission. There are multiple, but this is just one in particular that we're focusing on for this movie. So just to give a little bit more context, the movie is directed by Guy Ritchie, written by Paul Tomasi, Eric Johnson, and Aresh Amel, and stars Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, Eiza González, Alex Pettyfer, Carrie Elwes, and so many other people. This is a very star-studded cast of people. But if you have not been privy to one of our reviews before, how we're going to do it is we're just going to give our general thoughts. Did we like the movie? Did we not like the movie? That sort of thing. And then afterwards, we're going to give you a quick warning, just letting you know that we're going into spoilers, and then we're going to go into a full spoiler talk. So that's how it's going to go down. So firstly, general thoughts. Alex, what did you think about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
It was a weirdly fun movie to watch. When it comes to like war movies or like spy movies or something, they can get like a little boring, or they can be like, here are these really serious moments and stuff like that and things like that. But this movie was just oddly fun to watch. And like Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson,
Ritchson.
Ritchson, are fantastic.
Just Rich and then Son.
Ritchson.
Yeah.
Were just like goofy in this movie for two big dudes who I've only seen them as like serious, like we're badasses, you know, blah blah blah. They were just like giddy in this movie, especially Alan Ritchson, whatever. He is huge. I brought that up during a moment I saw it. I was like, is he bigger than Henry Cavill? He's only, mind you, 2 inches taller than that man. But on screen, he looks enormous. And it's insane how big he has gotten that it's like, it's crazy.
That's him in the movie.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Enormous.
And his character is like Swedish and just goes around shooting guns and arrows.
That's him in Reacher.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. Look at him up there.
Yeah. They didn't have him standing next to Henry Cavill because it would have made him look small. That man is huge.
Especially look at Henry's arms compared to Alan Ritchson's arms.
Oh yeah. No, they're
as big as his head. The biceps are as big as his head.
It was insane. He just goes around lumbering around the entire movie, just, you know, killing people and shooting arrows and ripping out hearts, which is literally a scene in the movie. So that was a little bit, I was like, wow, he's damn. And then the rest of the movie was just kind of fun to watch. It was very interesting. I will say you don't really, maybe one of the things that made this movie was fun is because you kind of knew they were going to be successful in the end. There was really, you had said it, there was no high stakes. You knew how the story was going to end. You knew the good guys, you know, were going to win in a way. And even there were moments of like, oh, are they or aren't they? You knew they were. So like that brought down the tension that you would feel during one of these like type of movies where you're like on edge or something. Nobody ever felt like they were in serious threat except for two characters who were basically the, you know, minorities, the black guy and the Spanish woman.
Yeah, Eiza González and Babs. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this last name right. Olasamukun or Mokun. That's the best.
Better you than me, because
Babs is what we're gonna call him for this.
Yeah.
For this review.
I fuck up white people names. All right, I fuck up Ritchson. See, with all due respect, I don't want to slaughter his last name, so I will call him Babs. Ritchson. Yes. I say what you say, but apparently I'm not saying what you're saying.
Well, just so that way you can break it down into 2 words: rich and then sin.
How or badly son. Ritchson?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, perfect.
So, out of respect for Babs, I will not pronounce his last name, at least not without properly practicing it, because I don't want to show any disrespect to him because he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, and he's been doing great, man. He's also in Dune. He's in Dune Part 1 mostly, but he's a little in Dune Part 2, mostly as like a ghost or like a dream or whatever, but still he's there.
Yeah. And during this whole movie, he was fantastic in everything he did. He played his part right. I won't give too much away just yet. And just like he was a phenomenal actor in this film, and I really enjoyed his character too. There wasn't really a character I didn't really enjoy except for like maybe Appleyard. His character kind of just felt like not necessary as much as I kept saying it was necessary, but like
I think it's because he's just because his character or the person he's playing existed, so they were like, well, we got to have this character in here because he's important.
Because he's actually part of the real
because he's actually part mission, of the adventure. Yeah, and the actual
Uh,
real life story.
yeah, they could have probably worked it better because it was more like he's the idea guy, but really it was like Henry Carvill's character Gus was kind of bouncing off ideas off of him more than anything. Um, but again, like I said, this was just kind of like a weirdly just fun movie for a war movie. So,
It's
what about
true.
you? What did you think?
I enjoyed this movie. It feels like, to me, this feels like Inglorious Bastards, but without so much of the hijinks. Because that movie was like what I call like historical like fiction,
Oh yeah,
where like it's very fantastical. It's very big and bombastic, especially when you get to like the parts of the movie that are the bastards parts with like Brad Pitt and Eli Roth and all those characters, and where they're just like they're larger than life. They're cartoon characters basically.
yeah,
There's no way they would accomplish their mission if they existed in real life, because they'd be too busy having fun and monologuing than like actually accomplishing the goals they've been set to do. But here, this feels like more of the like down to earth. Like if the Glorious Bastards did exist, this is virtually what they'd be like. Granted, though, I think here they're also taking some liberties, because I don't imagine Gus March Phillips was like a dude who's out here like shooting people with his tongue sticking out, like yeah.
you don't know.
Like,
He could have been crazy.
maybe, I mean, it's possible, but he just seems like this like psychopath.
Yeah, no,
Who
there
just
were points a lot of
enjoys
these
murder.
characters were just like, this is y'all are like crazy, ain't ya?
Yeah, like Alan Ritchson's character is like Jason walking. There's literally a point in the movie where he does become like a slasher, like Michael Myers type killer.
Oh yeah, no,
Just unstoppable.
He
This
goes from,
unstoppable
like-
monster of a man murdering every like groups of people with no problems.
and then at the end, after he's murdered just like a bunch of people, they like look at him through a porthole, and he's just like, "Hi, hi," like with a big
Yeah, he's
smile,
just
like,
so
"Hi."
friendly.
And it's just like, okay,
So they definitely take some liberties here to make these characters like more fun, because I'm sure like the actual story is probably pretty boring when you like break it down. It's just
oh yeah,
it's just a bunch of, because they like the once we get down to like the crux of where the story goes, it very much is like a very like on paper I could see it being read as like a boring mission, and they try everything they can to make the mission pumped up more, like to add more character, add more like style and gravitas, to like add stakes and try and add a little bit more to the story. So I get it. I respect that a lot. Them taking a few liberties here and there. But like you said, I think that's if I have a complaint, that's the complaint, is that because it's just a story about like these dudes who go in and they accomplish their mission, and because they're, good at what they do, there's no point where like there's a few stakes here and there about like information being given across the board, because there's one part in the particular with the movie where these guys are operating, or a couple points actually throughout the movie, where they get some information and they're like, okay, here's the plan, and they do that plan, and then they find out, there's actually a hiccup in the plan. We got to get this information out. And then it's like, are they going to get that information? Are they going to get it in enough time to not like ruin the plan? And so like, that's where the stakes kind of lies. But past that, as far as them executing plans, they almost go off without a hitch almost every single time. And so there's a lot of times where you're just like, okay, I'm not concerned. And then even when it comes to killing guys, nobody ever gets a one up on these people. They are like crack shots. They don't miss. They're very good. The one time a person does get shot, it's like not that bad. Like,
yeah, because I thought about that too. Because when there's a scene where well, I guess I'll save it for the spoilers. I don't want to ruin it, but I thought about that.
Yeah.
I was like, he just got up and was like, fine. Nobody actually gets hurt. Well, they get hurt,
not
but
really.
they don't like hurt.
Yeah, so it's just, I think that's my biggest thing, is that, and I don't know if that's because that is actually what happened in real life, and so they wanted to be respectful of that, but they didn't want to like take it too far, or if it's just they were just like, nah, we're just having fun with these characters. Either way, it does kind of like take away from the movie, I feel like, in the sense of like, making this character making this movie feel more serious than it already kind of isn't, because it's just a fun action movie. But I will say, I think the best part about this movie is that all the actors just they know how to take this material and add a lot of personality to it. You can tell everybody's having a good time. Henry Golding is having fun. Henry Cavill is having fun. Alan Ritchson is having the most fun, clearly.
Yeah.
Eiza González is great. I think this is like the best role I've ever seen her in. If anything, I will say that Babs and Eiza, they are like doing a lot of the heavy lifting, because a lot of the drama and stakes is really with those two characters.
Oh yeah.
Because they're in the most vulnerable state. And then like the rest of the gentlemen or whatever, who's part of like the espionage mission, they're not really involved in the plot heavy until like the back end of the film. And so for a lot of it, Eiza and Babs kind of carry a lot of the movie, and they do an amazing job kind of setting up the stakes, letting us know what's at stake. Also, I think his name is Till Schweiger, who plays the main bad guy, Heinrich Lure. Great. He's just phenomenal as the bad guy, which is funny because I mentioned Inglourious Bastards, and I was telling you when we left the theater that he was in Inglourious Bastards as like that movie's Alan Ritchson character, who's like this unstoppable Nazi killing machine. And so now he gets to be the bad guy Nazi, which is kind of interesting. And I think that's kind of fun. Also, big shout out to Rory Kinnear, who plays Churchill. Also, the Churchill makeup is terrible.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
It does not look like Churchill at all.
I genuinely don't know why they just didn't get an older person to do that. Or like,
especially because Rory Kinnear kind of looks like Churchill, just regular Rory Kinnear, like what he looks like naturally. So I don't understand why they didn't just let him just be Churchill with with the bowler hat and the big cigar and all that stuff. Like, he doesn't look exactly like Churchill, but he damn sure looks more like him than that makeup did. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that makeup was bad.
So, and it's not, and he has the voice. The voice sounds great. It's the makeup that looks terrible. So I don't know. I don't know why they did that. Also, big shout outs to also Hero Phineas Tiffin, because I think that's how you pronounce his name. Because I have no faith in this dude, because the only thing I know him to be in is those After movies. It's the only thing I've ever seen him in. This character who plays Hayes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's him in the movie. With like, and he does a great job playing the Irish character, the character on the team. But this is him in After, and I just remember being like, these are the only movies I've seen him in, and he's terrible. But it's not his fault; it's the direction. I feel like the direction is why he's so bad, because the movies are so bad.
After. Never seen.
They're basically like Twilight movies, or like those like teen drama, like based off a book movies. So yeah, and they're not great. And so I had no faith in his character for this movie as far as like his acting ability, but he actually surprised me. He was actually pretty decent. Yeah. So good for him. But yeah, so that's my general thoughts of the movie. It's like, it's fun, but it just lacks a few things to really go that extra mile to be like amazing, like I was hoping it would be. So yeah, so those are like, that's our general thoughts, audience, but we're about to go into some spoiler talk. So if you don't want to be spoiled at all for this movie, do subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, like, favorite, share, all those things. Or, give us a review on podcast sites and, give us 5 stars and all those things. Or if you really love what we do, just go watch the movie. Go to your local theater, or if this, is in a later date where it's already on streaming, watch the movie on streaming, then come back and get you the rest of this podcast goodness, because you're going to want to hear what we have to say. So, getting into spoilers, Alan Ritchson is Michael Myers in this movie, right? Like, he's just...
All I know is that I was weirdly attracted to him in that scene where he ripped the guy's heart out, and I was like, immediately, like, I should go back to therapy.
Well, it's just like, because he just murderizes everybody in this film with no hesitation. Like, and it doesn't matter what it is. Arrows, axes, guns, knives, it don't matter as long as there's a blade on it.
Every weapon possible. They do. They like at one point he's out of arrows, so he grabs this freaking axe from the wall, and like he has throwing knives and then guns, and then like a blade. It was just crazy. He just went on a like rampage. Especially there is a scene where they storm a Nazi base to rescue Appleyard because he's Henry Carvill's character is like, we need Appleyard again. He wasn't really that prominent in the episode. It was almost like you want to just
he only
your
does
buddy
one
out.
thing. He comes up with the plan to steal the boat. That's like all he does.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they're gonna rescue him, so they storm this whole thing. Appleyard's in there getting his nipples electrocuted off. He's just chilling there too, like all chained up. Anders comes in, Alan Ritchson's character, just comes in, just murdering everybody with arrows and then guns, and then straight up like stabs people in the neck, and then at one point he rips out somebody's heart, like literally just standing there holding the guy's heart, and everybody's like, really? It's like now the time to do that? He's like, what? He's like, I got a heart now. I will say, for all the movie and all the killing that it is, it's not that bloody.
It's not. It's not very gory. Like the movie is very tame on the gore.
Even when they show parts where they like stab him in the neck and there's not like gushing blood or anything, like in Inglourious Bastards, there was like blood when they like there was like
tomato
blood
sauce.
Everywhere chunkiness. This is like looks like if you actually did stab somebody in the neck, it'd just be like, and then they drop them. It was not a lot of gore. Surprisingly, they don't even show you when he cuts the man heart out. They kind of just show Appleyard as the guy screaming, and then like Richardson's holding the guy's heart, and like that's as gory as it really gets during this whole film.
True.
So
yeah, they really cut down on a lot of the gore, which is actually kind of nice. You know, most war movies are very bloody. This one's kind of like, no, but I think it's because in the spirit of this being espionage, it's very like secretive. Like it's slowed down. It's a lot,
these men do are really that secretive.
I mean, they leave bodies in their wake, but to be fair, it's because they always have to drop on people. So they're always like hell. Henry Golding's character walks up to a like mounted gun and is taking his slow ass time getting there too. He's just do. And this one Nazi in particular sees him out the window, and instead of him scream, "There's a man out there!" on the gun. He's just trying to quietly be like, "Excuse me, Major." Like, excuse me. Like, it's like, then now's not the time to raise your hand, my guy. Now is the time to be like, there's a dude about to jump on a mounted gun. He's killed 2 of our people. He's going to murder us.
Where it's like, I feel like if this was real life or if this happened, there would have been like an actual reaction instead of like, I think there's a guy outside that's not ours, maybe. Instead of him just like casually walking up. So there was a lot of like that where it's just like, I feel like the reaction time would have probably been more and the high stakes would have been more. But even with Appleyard getting tortured, he's just
so
chilling
casual
there
about it. He's just
and
like, he's like, can you cut me down? Thank you. I appreciate that. Like, it's like there's no type of like, that was rough, bro. I need a cigarette or something.
You're like not even sweating. You're just like, and they're like, "Oh, what happened to your nipples?" He's like, "Can you unplug me?"
Yeah, there's only a little blood around his nipples, and that's pretty much it. Which, mind you, is just, I think, like, because it's like, not only has he been being tortured, it's not like he was just tortured that day. They captured Appleyard days ago, so he's been under constant torture, and he's just. By the time they find him, he's chilling there. I almost expected, at least for like, especially because they're like, oh, we can't get Appleyard. He's been indisposed. They've captured him. I expected like him to double cross them or something, but he doesn't. He's just cool.
I was gonna try to turn down my light because, like with you, I have the light now in the back messing up everything. But no, I agree. I expected him to at least they find him like worse and where, like in a cell or something.
Right.
That was barely I don't want to make it sound, I expected more torture, but I expected more torture. I'm not going to be able to handle what he handled there and even that one scene, but I'm just saying, for them how being like they're gonna torture you and then kill you. Not much torture going on, really.
Yeah,
Um,
it was like it's a thing where they were too cool for like
yeah,
all of the stuff going on, where it's just like they have no concerns at all. Like they're just like, no, we've got this. It's good. The one time they are concerned is when they're like, well, how do we accomplish our mission? But then when they come up with a plan, they're just like, well, let's steal the boat, and they're like, all right,
okay.
that's ballsy. Okay, let's do it. And they just
There we go.
even the timers, they're like, how much time did you set for that chain to blow? I guess we'll find out. I'm like, if there was ever a military operation and someone said, you asked someone a legit question of, well, how long is the timer on this explosive that is paramount to the mission? And their answer was, I don't know. I would be pissed. I'd be like, are you fucking, we need to get that chain blown off. You should know. You should
That's
very
literally
much know.
we can't do anything else unless you this chain blow. Yeah, no, it was too much casualness for the situations that were going on, especially since they're like, we can stop all the U-boats if we get rid of this boat. And also, I kind of like how so originally they were supposed to sink this boat that's supposed to supply the U-boats with, not gas. I don't know what.
Well, it was
It was
oil, other supplies, so really just like everything, even like I think munitions as well, but I think mainly oil, so it can so it has like essentially
yeah.
fuel and like stuff they need to survive, just like on the actual submarines.
Right, without having to retransport.
Right.
So originally they were supposed to sink it. That was the mission, and then they found out it was double enforced. It was double steeled up.
Yeah.
There's a point in the movie where a majority of them are asking like, when did they have time to do this? When did they do this? And Henry Cavill character or Gus and Appleyard are like, it doesn't matter. And all of them are like, well, it kind of seems slightly
Anders
important.
in particular is like,
Yeah.
well, I'm just trying to figure out when they had time.
Yeah,
to do
he's
that.
the only one questioning like, so. And I thought it was gonna come out or be like, this is the only time I was like, oh, so maybe they lied and said it was, reinforced and it wasn't reinforced. And that's how, they're trying to like lie to people. No, it had nothing to do with it. I was with Anders. I was like, this feels like it would delay the ship. The ship was supposed to leave in like 18 days. And now it's leaving 3 days early in 15 days. And then now it's double force. I'm like, when? But if they double enforce it, they definitely would delay it. They would definitely not be getting it out earlier. So I was with Anders on that, where he's like, when did they have time to do all this? Like, I feel like that's a viable question. Viable question. I don't think it's valuable. I don't know. English is hard.
Yeah, it's a valid point.
Valid.
Like,
That's the
when
word.
do they have time to do this? And it's just, yeah. So it's like, but you know what though? Like I said, Eiza González, who plays Marjorie Stewart, and Babs, who plays Heron, their stuff is the stuff I feel like is the most interesting, because Marjorie has to pretend to be a German gold salesman to get close to the I think he was a general or whatever, but like Heinrich, and get close to him and like find out that's probably that's probably the goriest part, when we find out what he does to like women that he doesn't deem as like pure Aryan blood or whatever, where we see that one black woman who's hanging by chains and she's like naked and just bloodied from him doing whatever he does to her. We don't get to see it, but we just see the aftermath, and which sets up the stakes for like why he's dangerous.
Yeah,
he's like psychotic. And so Marjorie, like, and Eiza does a great job really playing the major and like doing a great job. First of all, her accent is solid. Like she like all the accents she does in this movie, from her English accent to her German accent, they're all really good. Or I think she does, or does she just do a British accent? But
she does British
German.
and American. She does an American accent and then a British accent, and then she speaks German.
Right. That's right. And she's just amazing and everything. Like even the scenes when they show show off her skills as a soldier, where she's a great shot and everything. Like she sells it. She sells
Oh yeah.
every piece of the movie she's in. If I have to say like who's the best actress doing like the best work, it's probably her, or
Oh
actor
yeah.
in general. Like it's her.
Oh, I
Um,
absolutely agree because she goes all of them kind of get to cut loose and like have fun with their characters. She's got to stay more on the serious side, and she does that so well with how she's able to switch to cool to like showing that she is really freaked out because after we see what he's done to that other woman, she's shaking, she's frightened, of course, she's realizing, oh God, if he does catch me, this is what's going to happen to me. And so it
mhm.
also shows how much is at stake for her because you can guarantee the other people are going to pull off their mission. And although she may be successful in her mission, I don't know too much about her story where we know if she actually gets away or not. And there is a real stake for her. And there's even a moment in time where you're like, she's caught. Oh, she's screwed. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to her? Are they all going to just get away with the boat and then she's just left behind? Luckily they don't do that. They do are able to
Wait
she
for
sh-
her.
yeah, wait for her. And
Uh,
another thing I like is that she's not rescued at any point in time. She straight up just murders people herself too and like gets out of the situation. She shows her skills as a soldier and shows her precision shots and everything like that, and she's able to show why she is in the status she is.
that was the only thing that was a little convenient because like they take her to the shackle room, then the explosion happens, so they all go outside, and he's like shackle her, and then he leaves, and then the next time we see her, she's driving up. I mean, she does have shackles on, but I'm like, why would you bring her here? Why not just leave her there?
That is a good point. That's a good point.
Like
That's why
it's not like she's
I thought
going
they would leave
anywhere.
her, yeah.
But then we wouldn't have the cool thing where she pulls out that Derringer and just shoots him in the head with that little tiny bullet. And which, funny enough, this is now the second movie that Guy Ritchie has pulled that. Because also in, or I think it was a Derringer, but it was like, the little tiny pistol. And
Hmm.
in The Gentleman, he also like has a scene where the main female character of the like supporting actress character in the movie also pulls out a very tiny like Derringer pistol and shoots a dude with little tiny bullets. So I'm like, he really just likes the little tiny pistol thing.
I mean, in close range, they can be dangerous. Enough
Well, that's
momentum,
true.
so I will give them that. But yeah, no,
Uh,
she was good. And then Babs's character, the entire time, Heron.
yeah, and he also
Sure.
had like a close calls moment because he's planting that bomb at the power station, and then those
Hmm.
soldiers show up. And I was like, ah, damn, that's a wrap for him. And then he was like, a wrap for who? Pulls out his tiny pistol, pow, pow. And then
Yeah,
he's
he
still
was like,
having a hard time trying to reload and like and get ready to shoot the third guy. And he's like, man, screw it. Knife to the throat. I'm good.
yeah, he does a lot of groundwork for everything. For
Mm-hmm.
her, for the guys. He's like, all right, I established everything. All you have to do, sink the boat. Can't sink the boat. All right, all you have to do is steal the boat. Just do what you're supposed to do. Because he sets up pretty much everything for them. Without him, yeah, there's no mission at all. So,
Yeah, especially he's the best like deep cover agent as a part
hmm
of the mission, which I don't even think we find out much about his character. Like, because after and when the movie's over, they give you little excerpts on everybody of like this person won like the Medal of Honor, they were distinguished, and they had like all these kills or yada yada yada. I don't think we get one for Heron.
I don't believe so either. I think we actually only get it for Marjorie Stewart, Anders, Appleyard, and Gus. I don't think we actually
We get
see
one for
too much.
Hayes and Freddie as well.
I
You
don't
get one for
remember the one
for
for Freddy.
Hayes, like the one for Freddie, I forget what they said, but he has one, and then Hayes. The only thing I remember from Hayes is that they say like he was at one point captured and was tortured for like a series of days and never broke.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
think I remember that too.
um, but I mean but Heron's cool. He's a really impeccable character. It's cool to have a black character that has like a lot to do in this movie. Also, that's another thing too. This being a movie that takes place in a part of again World War II that we don't really think about a lot, which is that there were a lot of Nazis in Africa. Like
Hmm.
Africa was dominated by a lot of Nazi presence around World War II time. We just don't, and we don't think about Africa because we always focus on either Europe or we focus on the Pacific,
Yeah.
with Japan. And we don't think about there were Nazis in Africa. There were Nazis in like a lot of Italy and stuff like that. There are a lot of Nazis in a lot of different countries and stuff. I think there was even fighting in technically like South America as well.
I'm sure there was. I mean, actually, a lot of Nazis fled to like Argentina after the war ended. So, and I'm sure they did the same with Africa too, where they just fled south.
Mm-hmm. So it's like we don't get to see that often. So that is actually kind of cool to see a lot of Black people involved in World War II because Africa was a big part of World War II.
It was, especially with another thing that's really cool about this movie. It shows because, a lot of the times they talk about like naval support around the English Channel that helped win the war. The amount of ports that were around Africa, just on the coastline, that's where a lot of the U-boats were. That's where a lot of, the naval ships were at the time too. Between the British naval ships and the U-boats was that around Africa's coastline. They weren't up by the English Channel that a lot of people, think about or talk about. This was, a much bigger space and a much more area to basically conquer, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of also other Black characters, Danny Sapani or Danny Sapani, who plays Kimbili Kalu, or Billy as they call him in the movie, who's essentially a pirate.
He is.
But he was really good too, and really cool. I loved also how distinguished he was as a prince of the island.
Mm-hmm.
He really wore that on his shoulders, with having the glasses and the like nice suits and stuff. Like, and which again, it's Africa, but everybody dresses nice. Everybody looks good. We don't see a hut nowhere in sight. No one's out here in loincloths and with flies just all around their face and stuff like that. No, everybody wears suits, wears clothing, looks distinguished, speaks very well. Like, it's, with their African accent, of course, because it's still Africa, but it's a version of Africa that we don't get to see often, where it's like, no, this is a city. It's an island where people are like, just do the regular stuff they do everywhere else. It's just in Africa. So there's a lot more black-skinned people, darker-skinned people. But Billy's like, nah, I'm just a regular guy. I've got tons of money, mainly because of my pirate stuff. But also, I got my boys, my crew. And we've got tons of weapons and bombs and all types of stuff.
And it also
we got this under control.
Because he was willing to offer men and help them when they were like, we just, we're going to steal the boat or we're going to sink the boat. It also showed how much he wanted his island back. Mm-hmm. It also showed that there was this whole like, this is also my island. This is my home. This is, he called himself the Prince of...
I don't remember what the island was called.
He called himself the Prince of the Island. Unfortunately, I don't recall what it was called either. And he's like, I want them gone too. I'll work with you if you get them gone.
He's like, I don't believe in the mission. I'm just like, I just don't like Nazis being here. So
yeah, he's like, I want them out of my home.
Enough.
So like, I like how they showed that too, where he's like, this is mine. This is my home and land. I want them gone. Everybody wants them gone. I'll help you if you get them gone. So.
And I like to think that he's also technically he's part of the ministry too. I mean, he doesn't work for the England, but he's up there. All right. He's a gentleman as well.
Yeah.
Who's into some ungentlemanly antics from time to time.
I feel that. I mean, he supplied guns too, which is what I was bringing back to when I was talking about how the one guy got injured and just got up. It was one of his men when he was with Appleyard that got shot in the chest, and I'm like,
straight up shot in the chest.
in my head, I thought, oh, are they really killing off like the extra black character that they got going on with like no name? No, that dude gets up and tackles another Nazi who was attacking Appleyard, and then that's where Anders comes in, and they're both looking the black extra who just got shot in the chest, is looking at him like, that dude's crazy. It's like, you just got shot in the chest, man. How are you alive?
Yep. Also, Appleyard's played by Alex Pettyfer for the audience, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
We did not forget about him. It's just easier to refer to him as Appleyard because Appleyard is a great last name.
Appleyard does, I will say, is like a solid last name.
It's true. But one big thing to talk about this movie is also this movie has two different types of pieces of history to it. Because on one hand, we're talking about, of course, this declassified file that now we know about, this classified mission that was actually very important to World War II, because without it, the U-boats would have been able to easily continue to stop allowing American aid, which, would have allowed England to probably get completely decimated by the Nazis. So very important in that regard. But also it led to the creation of one of the greatest fictional espionage characters we know today, James Bond, written, those James Bond novels written by one Ian Fleming, who is in this movie, played by Freddie Fox. And is apparent, which we all knew that Ian Fleming was involved in British military. But we didn't realize how much inspiration he pulled from his British military days to make the character of James Bond, because not only is Gus March Phillips the inspiration for James Bond, but also Brigadier Gubbins, played by Carrie Elways in this, who is the commander over the espionage team, is referred to as M, just like the character of M is referred to in in MI6 in the James Bond novels. So there's both an M and
By the way,
James
that
Bond.
is an old photo of him on IMDb. He does not look like that anymore.
Who? Carrie Elways?
Carrie Elways.
Yeah.
That's a very old photo, sir. Respectfully update that.
Yeah, he definitely does not look like that.
For a second, anymore. I'm like, is that him? I'm like, that doesn't look like him. No, yeah. That's it. Sorry. Yes, he is called M in this movie.
But yeah, I mean, and it's I was like, that's really interesting. That's really cool. I didn't know that that's who James Bond was based off of. And although here's the thing, the way they play Gus March Phillips in this, I don't see how, if this is how he was, because James Bond is this debonair, very cool, very reserved guy who is violent for sure, but he's always chill. Versus Gus March Phillips. I mean, he is chill in this movie, but he's also a psycho.
Yeah. Very much psycho.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that a war was going on, he probably wouldn't know what to do with himself. He would just be getting into fights because he can.
Actually, at the beginning of the movie, you're introduced to him being he's held in prison at the moment, on the king's pleasure. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, because the king doesn't like him. And
the
wants
king's
him to
you're
stay
too
in
wild.
Jail.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, when you first meet him, he's stealing liquor and taking cigars.
He stole multiple jackets. The second one, he steals an RC jacket to, do espionage, to fit in. But the first time, again, you meet him, you're right, he's stealing liquor and stuff. And then he looks at the guy and he's like, I like your coat. And then walks out with it. So he's just taking stuff from people too.
Yeah, he's a debonair thug, basically, is what he is.
He is a thug.
And it's just weird to if that's not who he was, to see that's who James Bond is based on. If this is to be believed, how does that translate to James Bond? I do not know.
I feel like I've seen a similar thing to that, where I've seen this character that's really really classy and stuff like that, and then they show their inspiration and be like, oh, is it the smartness that you're drawing the inspiration from? Is it just the character had this cool way about them that you're drawing this? Because that character you got there is not what's there. That person, I don't think I would personally talk to. Well, this one was you know what I mean? So I feel like I've seen that before, and I can't remember which character has been compared to their real life muse. But yeah, I don't, other than I can't even think of anything other than the espionage, I guess.
Well,
but that even feels more
sorry,
that even feels more Heron's and Marjorie Stewart's characters were the ones, setting everything up. They were the ones doing the most espionage out of everything.
Yeah, more like spy stuff, spycraft.
Yeah.
Although I have heard, though, because I haven't read any of the actual James Bond books, I've only ever seen the movies. I have heard that like the movies have toned down how much violence. Like a lot of people say the closest to the actual books there is Casino Royale. Like that movie with Daniel Craig is the closest to an actual James Bond book, where James Bond really is like a psycho. He's like, I have no problem killing anybody and everybody to accomplish my mission, and I don't give a damn if it's women or men. Everybody, the body's gonna be dropping if the mission calls for it.
Yeah.
So I have heard that the books are a lot more violent. James Bond's a lot more vicious in the books than he is compared to the movies. In the movies, they want him to be more likable, so they don't make him as bloodthirsty. Not that he like wants to kill people, but just that he's not afraid to kill anybody he needs to kill to accomplish his goals. So maybe if I read one of the books, maybe it'll line up a little bit more.
It almost feels like more the missions were probably taking off inspiration than the going by this movie standards.
James Bond has always been like on a level that's kind of like fantastical too, where he has like gadgets that are like unrealistic. And like, at least at the time they're being written, those gadgets could not possibly exist.
That's
true. That time.
That's true. And also, we see these characters and they show real pictures of the soldiers. These actors are about 20 times their size compared to the actual soldiers' pictures they show.
Well, at the very least, so, Anders and Gus, like the people, like the real life men, do not look like the actors that are portraying them at all.
Not even like
Henry Golding and Hero, like who plays Hayes and Freddie Alvarez. They're just not as handsome as them. Like same thing with Appleyard. Like, those three men aren't as handsome as the actors that are playing them, but they probably are the same body type, more or less.
Yeah.
Because they're not enormous. But Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson, they're big guys, big dudes. And I'm like, there's no way that's what they look. They were not that size.
Nobody is that size except for them.
Oh, The Rock.
Look at that. Henry Cavill's not even that size that like Alan Richardson is now.
I think Henry Cavill has like gotten a little smaller as of late. Probably because he doesn't have to work out as much. Like he's like, I don't even really show off my muscles that much anymore. Most of the time I'm wearing full bodysuits and t-shirts. Like
because he's not doing Witcher anymore.
Yeah,
is Witcher still a thing? Is that still happening?
There's I think 1 or 2 more seasons, but not with Henry Cavill. Liam Hemsworth is replacing him as Geralt.
Ever since the last season, I've literally heard nothing about Witcher again. I've heard nobody talk about it. I've heard nothing about other than like Liam's
leaving.
Yeah, after Liam's replaced, nothing. I've heard nothing else. Release dates. I've seen nothing about The Witcher.
I think they're filming now. Like they released a set photo of Liam as Geralt, and then that's pretty much it. I think they're filming currently for the 4th season.
I've seen nothing has come across any timelines or anything for me. So I think they're just kind of be like, we're going to film it. We're going to just put it out and just nobody talk about it. I think that's the best way to do it.
But you know what's funny though? Coincidentally, is like how it's weird. Henry Cavill keeps getting close to like James Bond in ways that are like through other ways, because so when
ways through other ways.
Well, because when Daniel Craig was picked to be James Bond, before he got cast in the role, Henry Cavill was up in the running.
Really?
To play James Bond. Yeah, back then he was, but they thought, because they wanted a younger Bond, but because they were going to do Casino Royale, and the whole thing about Casino Royale is it's James Bond's first mission, and it's like he's freshly becoming 007, and so they wanted a younger person to play him, and Henry Cavill at that time was like, I think in his like, if not late 20s or mid 20s, like early 30s, so he was very young. And but they just thought he was too young to play the role, so they didn't cast him, and they went with Daniel Craig instead. And then like the next spy movie he would do is playing in Guy Ritchie's film The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah.
which isn't like the best movie, but I liked it. I enjoyed Man from U.N.C.L.E. I thought it was okay. And
That
I
was
liked Henry
another
Cavill,
movie where I
especially
thought they
in
were
it.
gonna get into a throuple.
Yeah, I especially liked Henry Cavill in Man from U.N.C.L.E. I was like, see, he could do James Bond. So when Daniel Craig was like, I'm done being James Bond, I'm like, hey, this is your chance, Henry, to maybe do Bond. You know what I'm saying? And so far, it's been very quiet. There's a lot of talking about possibly Aaron Taylor Johnson being the next Bond right now. Because a lot of people were saying, we want Idris Elba. And I'm like, Idris Elba can't be Bond, okay? Like, I know y'all want it because he's a British dude, he's handsome, and he's very popular, but he can't be Bond. All right? James Bond blends into everywhere he goes because he's a white man in Europe. A black man in Europe is not going to blend in.
I didn't even think about
like
that. I was like, is it because he's like attractive? Like, because like I would notice him in like a crowded. But then I was like, so I would notice Henry Cavill too. Daniel Craig can blend in. He's handsome, but like not like that. But I see what you're saying now.
But the Aaron Taylor Johnson is possibly up for the running to be like the next James Bond, whenever that is, because we don't even know when the next Bond movie is coming out, because they just got done with like a 5-movie run with Daniel Craig. Probably not chomping at the bit for James Bond movies right now.
Also forgotten Henry Cavill's like also another amazing spy role he's done, Argyle.
I thought you were going to talk about Mission Impossible, which
No.
he's also, I was like, he's great in Mission Impossible. I like him in Mission Impossible, but no, that's true. Argyle is.
He was a badass spy in that. He was also the subconscious personality of another spy.
Yeah, it's bad.
They did him dirty with that flat top. I don't know why. And then the Jerry curls mullet thing at the end.
Yeah, I don't know what they're like. That's gonna mark his. I get it. You know, you got to work. Sometimes you just got to get a check. You know. But
I had fun.
But he's and now he's playing in this movie where he's not playing James Bond, but he's playing the inspiration that inspired James Bond. So I'm like, this man just keeps getting close to Bond, but not actually being James Bond. And I don't think at this point they'll hire him to be Bond. Like they could, but he's got other things going on. He's trying to do this Warhammer 40K show with Amazon Prime right now, which is like his biggest fandom. Like he loves playing Warhammer 40K, like role playing and playing that game. So like he's got other things going on. And then people keep hiring him for stuff. So he's got plenty to do.
That's true.
But I just thought that was cool that they kind of like roped that in there. Like it's also a James Bond inspiration story. Like to tell you the story of how, I mean, what's funny though is they bring that up. Ian Fleming doesn't do anything in this movie. He doesn't do shit in this film.
I don't remember him in the movie really. I think he just like kind of.
He's like in the background. He's like important, but we don't get to see the important things he does because it's not as important as the actual mission going on. It's not as exciting. It's just him kind of just making calls and talking to the Brigader the whole time. So they kind
Was
of
that
cut
it?
out.
I was trying to look for his, like, I looked at the actor and I was like, where? I was trying to place him in the movie. Was he just like the guy making calls?
He was like sitting at the table, like when that first scene when they're like, when he's giving him the rundown. Ian Fleming's there. He's the other guy giving him the like breakdown of what the mission is and all that stuff.
Oh, right. I remember now.
So he is very much not important. His only importance is because he was there and to set up the thing of like, and then Ian Fleming wrote James Bond, and it's like, oh yeah, well, okay. But that's pretty much it. But I mean, hey, you know, it's fine. I don't have any complaints. It's not like he was like it was offensive to have him in the movie or anything. It's just he doesn't do anything.
He was there.
He was there.
I think going into like final thoughts, if you don't have anything else.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't have anything else. I just wanted to mention that last.
I just want to make sure that I'm not just like cutting you off there.
No,
going into final thoughts, it's one, a weirdly fun movie. I will say that again. And then two, you see a lot of actors who play, these bigger roles, more serious roles, like these spy characters. But this time they get to be a little more wild with it. And sometimes I feel like that's more real than what you would get with like a James Bond character where he's cool and calm and collected all the time. Where
Mm-hmm.
it's like these people have also been to war, so of course they're a little insane, you know? And then with the whole espionage, it being really Marjorie Stewart and then Aaron's character uh doing all this groundwork. They're the ones, getting all the information. They're the ones reporting back. They're the ones making sure everything's set up so they can come in. I think that was beautiful because it didn't try to hide their importance. It didn't make it seem like, it's all these guys' work doing. No, it was all them. And
Yeah,
the
it's a
guys
team
knew
effort.
it. Yeah, it was a team effort. And they knew it too because they're like, we don't move until they show us the signal. And they were using, lights. They're like, we don't do anything until they say we can do stuff. We're trusting these guys. It's all them that we're doing. We have to move a boat, but like we're trusting them to turn off the lights. We're trusting them that the, officers are going to be locked away. They're
Mm-hmm.
showing the importance of these characters that in a lot of other spy movies would just be tossed off as side characters, but they were really put in the front. They were the ones getting the, the high stakes, and they were the ones you were nervous for during this whole movie. And I really love that. And I think both them have just done wonderful, jobs. And then again, Alan Richardson's fucking huge, man. That man is just huge. And I don't know why I've seen him again, like, but I don't know what it is about it seeing him now in this movie. I think maybe it's because he's next to Henry Cavill, so there's like a size comparison that this man is like officially a giant or something. Like,
Well, especially because like again, we have to illustrate y'all. Like these is what these men look like. This is how this does not translate. Sorry
this
for all
does
the
not.
ads and stuff, but I didn't control the
Yeah,
site.
I
But
think
it's
it
just
was
like
also that
ah.
just like seeing the real
And we're loading
actor.
random loading things now. Daily Mail is freaking out. Stop it, Daily Mail. Trying to make a point. How dare you? There we go.
I think you can just go ahead and close that now.
It's
I think,
unstable. It's
yeah,
blowing up.
you might get a virus yourself. Yeah,
It's
no, seeing
fine.
those two and then just also seeing the actors compared to each other was like, dude, you're huge, man. I was not prepared for how giant you were.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess seeing him on the big screen instead of my TV or something, I don't know. But all around, I really enjoy this movie, and I would give it like a solid like B plus. I still stand by what you say, where there was like no real high stakes for the other characters, the guys, and that kind of was like, I know what's gonna happen. I didn't get too like attached to them. I
Mm.
knew nobody was in. I knew nobody was gonna die. So the only time I was worried somebody was dying was Marjorie Stewart and Heron's them. That were the only two I was like, oh, are they gonna kill him? They would
Yeah.
kill off the black guy or the woman. They would do that. So that was my only fear. But other than that, I mean, I think a solid B plus. I would, even enjoy watching this movie again. And like I said, the gore level is pretty tame. So I appreciate
Mm.
that. For all the shooting and stabbing and gutting, you never saw anybody's intestines.
Yeah, no
You
one's
know,
like getting ripped apart or whatever. Like it's just clean kills,
it's
Nico Notice.
yeah, yeah. So what about you? Final thoughts.
I agree. I've also well, actually, I'll give it like a B minus. I think the stakes thing for me just is a big thing that holds this movie back for a lot of it, and it's because it just feels like it's too easy. It feels. I told you this was the same as when we were leaving the theater. I was telling you about the movie and audience. Comment below if you remember this movie, but Acts of Valor, a movie that came out in like I want to say 2012 or uh 20, like, hold on, when did that movie come out? Acts of Valor. Yeah, 2012. Wow, I nailed it. Awesome.
Good job.
But Acts of Valor, for those who don't know, is a movie that the whole gimmick was basically that they got a bunch of actual Navy SEALs and Marines and other like military personnel to actually basically do a simulated mission as a movie, and to emphasize like, the importance of the American military, how they do their operations. And it was very realistic. Like we got to see how they actually operate, how they actually communicate and stuff like that, how they accomplish their missions and all that stuff. And they hired real soldiers to play the characters. But or real military personnel, because soldiers are army, and then Marines are Marines, and Navy SEALs are SEALs, yada yada yada. But anyway, they hired actual military personnel to play the characters. But the thing is that like half of the drama and what makes movies fun is seeing like the military personnel struggle in ways that is unrealistic to what the actual missions would look and feel like, because that adds drama and stakes to the movie. If we see a bunch of people that are good at what they do it with ease, and there's really no moment where we're worried for our characters' lives, then we're kind of just like, I mean, it can be fun for sure, but it's still kind of, it kind of takes away a lot of the tension of your movie. And you need tension to make a movie like that much more intriguing. So, but all that being said though, the movie's still a blast. It's so much fun to watch. And it's mainly because of the actors. They just take this material and they really elevate it because everyone's so filled with personality. They have such great camaraderie amongst each other. They tell jokes amongst each other and, laugh and stuff like that. Like it doesn't feel like a downer. And that's, I think the thing is like, if you can't give me like the stakes of a like ramped up action movie, at least give me some personality. So I feel like I'm watching like a fun movie with fun characters. And so this movie delivers in spades. So for that reason, it's getting a B- for me. And I feel like a lot of Guy Ritchie's for me are just B-. But that's why I love watching his movies. They're just fun. They're just enjoyable movies I can watch, have a good time watching, and like put on like a Friday night if I want to watch like a fun action movie and just like turn my brain off, which is all I want from this movie. That I didn't expect much else from this film. So I got exactly what I was asking for, and I'm not disappointed in the slightest. So yeah. So comment below, audience. Tell us what you thought about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Would you recommend it for a friend or something like that? Are you a Guy Ritchie fan? We want to hear all the things. So comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're not watching this on YouTube, you're on the audio streaming platforms. Hit us up anywhere on all our social medias at The First Ones to Die, and check us out, or send us a message at gmail. thefirstones2die@gmail.com. But before we go, as we always do, socials. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram, on TikTok, although I don't really use Instagram anymore. I don't know why bother with that. And you can find me also at The First Ones to Die TikTok, where I post little clips of our episodes, things we have done, things we may talk about, and then also just little stuff I'm watching. Right now I haven't been posting much, but I'm trying to get back more into it lately. So hopefully more content on there to come. What about you, Jerome?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram, and also check out our social medias. Once again, like I said, at The First Ones to Die everywhere. It's easy to access. And then, check out the YouTube channel, especially for extra content that you cannot get on the audio streaming platform. Stuff like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming content, vlogs, video versions of all of the podcasts. It's a great time. Go on over there. Check all that stuff out. You're not going to regret it. And if you are already watching on YouTube, please subscribe, favorite, like, share, hit the notification bell so you don't miss when we upload new videos, because you never know when something's coming out. Not only podcast episodes, but also extra content, because we just be dropping stuff at random. It's not scheduled. So if you want to be the first to check it out, hit that notification bell. It's the only way to be ready and available to check it out. So next week, we got that Monkey Man review coming for you. I know it's a little late because Monkey Man's been out, but you know what? Better late than never. All right, so tune in next week. But until then, have a good day, good morning, good night, whenever you're listening to this. And we'll see you for the next one. Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode.
Like, seriously? My mouth was still open. Sorry, do the intro. Because you could have waited till I was finished.
All right,
that
fine.
felt like an well, no, now it's like that was like a yawn that was like cut short now. So it's like it doesn't feel as good,
Fair enough. Do you have one more in you?
Probably, but later.
Okay.
Like can't force the yawn. Well, you can force yawns, but
go on over to the YouTube channel at The First Ones to Die to see all the fun stuff we got going on here, like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming videos, vlogs, all types of stuff.
Please follow us at The First Ones to Die everywhere. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe.